Cookery Grade 10, First Quarter. Lesson 2, Learning Outcome Number 1. Our topic is Prepare Cereals and Starch Dishes. For Form Mise en Place. Sources of starch. The parts of plants that store most starch are seeds, roots, and tubers. Thus, the most common sources of food starch are cereal grains, including corn, wheat, rice, grain, sorghum, and oats. Roots or tubers, which includes potato, sweet potato, arrowroot, and tropical cassava plant, which is marketed as tapioca, and legumes. The common source of manufactured food starch are corn, potato, and tapioca. Starches are named after its plant sources. Corn starch from corn, rice starch from rice, and tapioca from cassava. Classification of starch. First is the native or natural starch. It refers to the starches as originally derived from its plant source. Second, modified starches. These are starches that had been altered physically or chemically to modify one or more of its key chemicals or physical property. The next classification is the purified starch. Purified starch may be separated from grains and tubers by the process called wet milling. This procedure employs various techniques of grinding, screening, centrifuging to separate the starch from fiber, oil, and protein. Starch composition and its structure. The starch molecule. Starch is a polysaccharide made up of hundreds or even thousands of glucose molecules joined together. The molecules of starch are two general types called fractions, the amylose and the amylopectin. The amylose is a long-chain-like molecule, sometimes called linear fraction, and is produced by linking together 500 to 2,000 glucose molecules. The amylose fraction of starch contributes gelling characteristic to cooked and cooled starch mixture. A gel is rigid to a certain degree and holds a shape when molded. Amylopectin has a highly branched, bushy type of structure. It is very different from the long, string-like molecules of amylose. In both amylose and amylopectin, however, the basic building unit is glucose. Cohesion or thickening properties are contributed by amylopectin when a starch mixture is cooked in the presence of water, but this fraction does not produce a gel. Most natural starches are mixtures of the two fractions. Corn, wheat, rice, potato, and tapioca starches contains 24 to 16% amylose, with the remainder being amylopectin. The root starches of tapioca and potato are lower in amylose content than the cereal starches of corn, wheat, and rice. The starch granule. In the storage areas of plants, notably the seeds and roots, molecules of starch are deposited in tiny, organized units called granules. Amylose and amylopectin molecules are placed together in tightly packed stratified layers formed around a central spot in the granule called the hilum. The starch granule. The starch molecules are systematically structured in the granule to form crystalline-like patterns. If the starch granules in water suspension are observed microscopically under polarized light, the highly oriented structure causes the light to be rotated so that a multi-cross pattern on each granule is observed. This phenomenon is called birefringence. The pattern disappears when the starch mixture is heated and the structure disrupted. The sizes and shapes of granules differ among starches from various sources, but all starch granules are microscopic in size. Starch properties and reactions. First is the gelatination. The sum of changes that occur in the first stages of heating starch granules in a moist environment, which includes swelling of granules as water is absorbed and disruption of the organized granule structure. Second is the viscosity. The resistance to flow. It increases in thickness or consistency. When the newly gelatinized starch is stirred, more swollen granules break and more starch molecules spill, causing increase of viscosity or thickness. The type of sugar influences the temperature and rate of gelatination. The effect of sugar is attributed to competition for water. It was observed that sugar actually interacts with the amorphous areas of the starch granules. Different sweeteners added to starch gel preparation: honey, molasses, panutsa, or granulated sugar. Retrogradation. Retrogradation is the process in which starch molecules, particularly the amylose fraction, reassociate or bond together in ordered structure after disruption by gelatination. Ultimately, a crystalline order appears. Next is the synaresis. Oozing of liquid from gel when cut and allowed to stand. The oozing of liquid from a rigid gel, sometimes called whipping. This reaction occurs in all kinds of gels, which includes pudding, jellies, custards, gelatin, and agar. Next is the dextrinization. It is the process of forming dextrin. Dextrins are partially hydrolyzed starches that are prepared by dry roasting. In home kitchens, dextrinization is achieved by toasting flour for polvoron, rice flour for kare-kare sauce, and bread slices for breakfast. And finally, the hydrolysis. Hydrolysis starches undergo hydrolysis during cooking or processing and during storage of food, where a chemical reaction in which a molecular linkage is broken and a molecule of water is utilized. Prolonged heating of starches with acid will promote hydrolysis. This can happen when cooking an acidic food, such as pineapple pie, resulting in a reduced viscosity or firmness of the pie filling. Functional properties of starches. Starch plays various roles in food. It is a typical multitasker. It acts as thickeners in gravies, sauces, and pudding. It absorbs water and becomes a gel when cooked. It also acts as a colloidal stabilizers, moisture retainer, gel-forming agents, binder, package, flavor carriers. It has the ability to trap oils and fats, which absorb flavoring substance more efficiently. Starches can be added in the processed meats like luncheon meats, hot dogs, and sausages. It is also can be used as a filler, binder, moisture retainer, and fat substitutes. The quality characteristics of the starch itself depends upon which role or function it was used. Cereal, on the other hand, is any grain that is used for food. Grains, especially whole grain, are not just empty calories. These are very valuable and can contribute a great deal to our health. You should include at least 4 servings from this food group each day. Cereal processed food. A whole grain cereal is a grain product that has retained the specific nutrients of the whole. Unprocessed grain and contains natural proportion of bran, germ, and endosperm. Enriched cereals are excellent sources of thiamine, niacin, riboflavin, and iron. A restored cereal is one made from either the entire grain or portions of one or more grains, to which there have been added sufficient amounts of thiamine, niacin, and iron to attain the accepted whole grain levels of these three nutrients found in the original grain from which the cereal is prepared. Cereals provide the body with carbohydrates, protein, fats, vitamins, minerals, water, and cellulose. A time to remember. This is Maylene Huliganga. Thank you for watching.